All right. Well, today on the podcast, we have returning guest Courtney Frerichs on the show. Welcome back, Courtney.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Congratulations on making your second Olympic team.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Good. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot more pressure this time around going into the trials from 5 years ago. So, to just be back on the team just feels really amazing.
Yeah, I've wondered that a lot. Like 5 years ago, going into the trials, walk us back to that. What did you feel like then?
Um, really, I felt like I just had very little expectations. I just finished up my collegiate eligibility. I was a brand new pro running for the first time in the Bowerman uniform. And so there was really, no matter the result, that year was going to be one for the books for me. I'd been a part of a national championship team in cross country and then won my own individual title on the track and set the collegiate record. And so there was so much to be proud of that the Olympic trials was kind of like the icing on the cake, no matter what. And it was really about experience because I was like, this is going to be really good moving forward on a professional career to have experienced in Olympic trials. But of course, that didn't mean I didn't want to make the team. I absolutely, knew that would be a really, really amazing way to start my professional career. So, yeah, definitely just felt like there was not near the pressure, just since there'd been a lot of other things to be really proud of that year.
Hey, can we try with no headphones? Your audio was fine. It was just a little crackly, and I wonder if our audio will be
Okay.
better if you take them off.
Hmm.
We don't have to redo that question or anything, though.
Okay. Okay. Is it on?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that'll be
I think
better.
that'll be better. Okay. There's no one else in the house right now, so it should be fine. I'm
The
here by
only
myself.
the only issue is every once in a while when we do this without headphones, like if you're talking for an extended period and then I chime in, sometimes like my first two few words like pick up really echoey, so I might just like re-say. I might start asking a question and then restart it just so I can cut
Okay.
it. Okay.
Okay.
And I don't think that you hear the echo like I do. So
Okay.
just so you're aware.
Okay.
Okay, cool. We'll roll right back into it then.
Perfect.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot with both you and Emma, and Colleen, before she decided not to run. It's like you and Emma specifically, you being an American record holder, and Emma kind of being so dominant over the years, entered this trials with us as fans of the sport kind of were like, oh, yeah, Emma and Courtney have it locked in. Who's going to be number three, especially after Colleen drops? And so I'm curious how that affected your confidence and also the pressure that it put on you.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, it gives you a lot of confidence that people believe in you, and that there's almost expectation that you're going to be on the team. But then it adds a lot of pressure. It was like, you know, I can't mess up. Like I'm supposed to do this. But at the end of the day, you still have to show up and do it. We weren't handed a spot. Like we have to show up ready to go, race just like everyone else. And so I really tried to put energy into that and remembering like, I mean, I thought my trials was over 500 meters in for about 5 seconds because I took a really hard fall. And I really tried to remember that, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to show up. And I think that's what makes the US team so good across the board is like we have to practice showing up just to make our team. We're not selected just based off the descending order list. So it was like, take it with confidence that a lot of people really believe in you and that you've shown you belong on this team. But use it as practice to be ready to know you have to be on the day because that's what the Olympics is all about too.
I totally forgot about your fall. Oh my gosh. But I want to talk about the prelims too. But yeah, once you fell though, it seemed like you were kind of like, okay, let's go. Like we gotta like break this pack up a little bit and like get this race going.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I anticipated the prelims to go quite a bit faster than, I mean, really ever, and especially the last few years. Last few years, it's I could win the prelim in 9:40 and it just take a kind of a, a little quick last lap. But I was, there are a lot of girls running in the 9:30s this year. I think people with 3 days between the prelim and the final will take advantage if the Olympic standard is within reach. And so I was definitely ready for the race to be faster. And, but that being said, I didn't necessarily, I read Emma, or I read a quote from Emma. It was like, you sort of crave the prelim being slower. And there's a lot of truth to that. Like, your body, I think at this point I've done so many like prelim finals, like there's a block in terms of like how the place you'll kind of go to and, you're going to try to get through as easy as possible. So, that was kind of my thought process with, okay, I'll get to the front, but I'm not going to go, really super hard. And then, 17 women in any sort of heat is a lot. And especially the steeple, you're trying to get position and, someone behind clipped my foot and I thought I was going to stay on top of my feet and all of a sudden I'm down. And, I was really worried, like I popped up pretty quick and I've fallen enough though in my life, like from gymnastics and stuff to know that sometimes like you're okay for like a few seconds or even a minute and then something really hurts. And so there was definitely some panic. I was like, I really hope like I'm just okay. And then I realized like once I felt fine, I was like, I need to just take control of this and just no more messing around. We're going to get through today. So I was like proud that I like stayed composed and just kind of shifted the focus to getting the job done versus like, putting a lot of energy into what had happened because I couldn't change it at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about the steeple. I mean, any of the shorter races too. I feel like somebody's always getting clipped or tripped up on the track in the 800, the 15 even. Did you expect Grayson to like go so hard at the end? I mean, it was clear that she was going after that Olympic standard. And did you just kind of want to like, let me secure my spot at this point? I don't want to push it.
Yeah, definitely. I think, going into the last lap, I kind of glanced up at the board and realized we had a breakaway pack. So last 200, I had really tried to shut it down, but I also realized that the women behind me could get the standard. And so you kind of want to get out of the way.
Yeah.
So I kind of pulled to the side because I was like, this is really good for them. It's exciting. Like I want them to be able to do this and I don't want to stop it. So, I really shifted focus to, getting through. The race had already been more stressful than it needed to be. So I was like, I'm not going to sprint, but I was really excited for them because it takes a big stress off going into the final to just know you have that box checked. So no matter what happens in the final, like if you get top 3, you're going.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was thinking my heart was there for Grayson so much because, and she placed 6th in the finals too. So like she really needed to grab that standard.
Yeah. Which
Although,
is huge.
what did you guys ran? You finished in 9:11. Remind us what the standard for the steeple is.
9:30.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was well below then.
Yeah, we actually ended up with like 9 women under the standard in the race.
Wow.
Which was really exciting. Like that's the deepest U.S. steeple there's ever been.
It's so cool.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think about like how it's changed over the years. Like it has gotten considerably more competitive.
I think it's so exciting. And I think it's common to see it with Olympic years. Last time we saw this kind of depth was actually 2016. We probably had, 7 or 8 women under 9:30 that year also. A lot of women running in the 9:20s. Emma set the American record that year. So it's common to see it with Olympic years. And it was really neat to see the first push kind of being made by a lot of the collegiates. I think that set the standard. And then, you saw the pros being like, okay, well, we're going to step up too. And, it just makes it really exciting. Like it's been fun to be a part of the push at the front. And so to kind of see the event continue to progress across all ranks, I think it's what you want. It's going to make the event continue to grow. And I mean, that just speaks also for U.S. women's distance running. Gosh, like, the number of women under 15 right now. And then, just that it took 402 to make the 1500 team, like just everything was just incredible.
Talk about so your PR is like basically 9 flat almost, right? And running a 9:11 at the trials final, I imagine, considering that not that you expected to make the team, but that was the plan to make the team. Your focus is on peaking at the Olympics. So how do you balance that? Like, I have to be in the best shape to make sure I make the team, but also so that I'm not totally gassed out and burn out for the Olympics.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. And I mean, even the way you run the race is a balance. Like you want to run hard, but you also want to make sure you're getting in the top three. And I think that, there's a lot of similarities to that. And so, that's, Jerry and I just having been really trusting in the plan that I can show up at the trials and make the team. And so not necessarily having yet to sacrifice the later on. And I think, at least for me, like I have a lot of experience at this point with running, US champs and worlds or US champs and then going on and running Monaco or things like that. So I feel very confident with my ability to be ready for the trials, but still kind of be on my upward trajectory to really peak later on. Yeah.
That's so cool. I mean, flashing back to 5 years ago, I mean, how does that settle with you? I mean, it's so much has changed, so much experience.
It's exciting. And I think that it makes me feel so grateful to have had the experience in Rio too, because I think that it really changed, my mindset and just really helped me realize what I needed to work on to really dive into the professional ranks and the international scene. Because I mean, by the time I got to Rio, I was exhausted because I'd run an entire collegiate season. I'd run so many championships, but it didn't mean I couldn't run well. It just that I wasn't really ready for anything faster than I'd already done. And so, it showed you what you have to work on. And it is a fine balance because you can't overlook any step. And that's something we talk a lot about on our women's team in particular, is just like, no one's been given anything. So you absolutely have to respect every step of the way. Even the smaller meets, there's a purpose to them. But that doesn't mean that, you're peaking. It's like kind of like a respect thing for each step along the way and not kind of overlooking any one of those steps.
That's a really good way to think about it. I'm thinking through, Bowerman had a really great showing at the trials. I mean, you guys have so many people, men's and women's teams, going to the games. So congratulations for the whole team.
It was super exciting. I mean, honestly, looking back, Woody and Grant really set the tone right away.
Oh my gosh, they're so exciting.
It was so fun. I was sharing a hotel room with Sinclair Johnson, and we were watching the race, and just the smiles on our faces, and we were just like oozing with pride with how well they ran. I mean, gosh, that was Woody. I mean, both of them have run the Olympic trials before, but really, they're still seem so young in the sport, and to show up like that is just amazing. And, they ran with confidence. And when it got to the last lap, I was like, I know they've got this. And so, to start on that tone, I think really set us up for, what we wanted to get done at the trials. It's neat whenever you can feed off the energy within the team.
I mean, 5K and 10K.
I know.
It's crazy.
So crazy.
I've kind of followed Woody a little bit through interviewing a lot of people on Bowerman team. And I guess I didn't know how fit he was. I had no idea.
Yeah. And he's just been putting the work in over the years. He had a couple of years of injury struggle, and then I think he's figured out what works for him. And gosh, if he's there in the last lap, especially, he's so dangerous, which everyone says. But it's if you look back at the 5K from 2019 when he ran 12:58, it's just insane. So I was super proud of him just because I know how much he's worked for it. We joined the team the same year, so it's really cool. I mean, this is his first team, so
that's so cool.
To show up at the Olympic trials, that says a lot.
Okay, but what were you really thinking at the end of the race? What's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm losing my mind. I'll have to edit this and put his name in. What is his name? Veteran runner who won he was pushing Woody and
Paul, Paul Chalimo.
Chalimo. Okay, I'm gonna re-say that so I don't sound like a complete idiot. I'm like, who? Why can't I think of his name? Okay. What were you thinking though at the end of the race when Paul Chalimo? I mean, Paul Chalimo was just like basically like dictating what was going to happen
Yeah.
in that race the whole time, and I thought that they were so gracious with him at the end. But what were you thinking as someone who's like been in these races, watching your teammates be a
Yeah.
part of that?
I guess on the one hand, it's good prep for like the international stage
Sure.
because those are the kind of moves that get made. So I would say, yeah, it was good prep. And like you said, they handled it really well. They were gracious about it. And like, I think that shows just the maturity they have. And then additionally, like the respect they have for their competition.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, I was cracking up about that. How does it feel? Last time we all talked, and I got to know you and Shelby and Colleen and Emily. You all went to the Olympics together, and now you're the only one in that group. And then, but now you've got Carissa and Elise, and so how does it feel to be the veteran and the only one back this time, but also
Yeah.
going with some new teammates as well?
It's, I mean, I guess it's a little bittersweet on the one hand, like it's been, it's all happened so fast in terms of like, I feel like I've blinked and suddenly like I'm the old experienced one
Uh
and
huh.
didn't expect it to happen so fast. And so, like I was super proud of the way Emily showed up. Her journey to get to that start line has not been easy. And just the fact that she was there, I think is such a testament to who she is. And and she threw herself right in it. And I mean, I was really proud of that race. And I know it wasn't what she wanted that day, but, I know there's a lot more there. And so, and I just feel so thankful to have been able, those three were all pros whenever I kind of came into the group and really helped me navigate my way through. Even with Shelby and Colleen and I being the same age, they had a year
Mm.
of training under Jerry under their belt. And so they were just really wonderful with helping me transition into the group. And Emily's been somebody who's been an incredible teammate and friend to me the whole time I've been here. And yeah, offered a lot of advice based off of things she's learned. And so, I'm trying to lean on the way they were with me in terms of how I'm, trying to like, be there for the younger ones now. 'Cause yeah, it's definitely, it just happened so fast that all of a sudden I've been here for 5 years and yeah, I'm an experienced veteran. And, I think I really tried with just how, you know, emotional the Olympic trials are. Like, we run US champs every year, but the Olympics only come around every 4 years. And so there just seems to be it like Carissa worded it, she's like, it just seems so much more cutthroat. Cause like,
Mm.
and it does like, and you know, especially with it being delayed a year, it just felt like people were really on. They were ready to take advantage of the opportunity because we didn't know if we were going to get it. And so I was really proud of the way they handled themselves and showed up and they ran with a lot of maturity. And so I'm excited about the group we have going to the games. I think we're going to be really ready. And yeah, just leaning on a lot of the things I learned from those that were, here and kind of took me in whenever I got to the group.
I failed to mention Marielle. She also ran in Rio, and my mind kind of clumps you gals together because I interviewed you all at once, and then I
Right, right.
interviewed Marielle a little bit later. And I know she raced at the trials as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, Marielle's one of those people that anyone could learn so much from.
Mm.
She just, her composure, she's so poised all the time. And no matter what is going on, like she shows up with just a great attitude. And I think that we all learn so much from that. And she's just 100% herself. And I think that is amazing. Like those are the people you want to be around they're going to be true to themselves and, always put their best foot forward. And so, I think as hard as it was that we didn't have the perfect trials on the women's side. Obviously in an ideal world, we all would have made the team. I think we're all really proud of the efforts that as a team we put forward.
What's it been like for you training this year without Colleen because she was the other steepler with Bowerman?
It's been an adjustment not having, a steeple training partner, but for myself as an athlete, like the most room for growth I actually have had is in a lot of the flat stuff. So I really tried to, shift my focus to that. And I have some of the best flat runners in the world to, line up with in practice and learn from. And so really tried to, set a lot of goals in that area and, just continue to develop as a all around runner. So, but, there's definitely the first time you get into a pack of a steeplechase, like when you haven't, hurdled around anyone, things like that, or just, there's, differences between leading and following and stuff. So definitely, some things like that have been missed. And, she was, always showed up in training sessions. So, she was always going to push me. And so definitely missed that.
Yeah, speaking of your flat running, 1450 in the 5K in 2020. So that was a big PR.
Yeah, that one felt pretty nice. I think, um, you know, after I ran 9 flat in the steeple, I allowed this sort of fixation on my flat running times to really affect the way I looked at myself, kind of viewed myself. And on the one hand, I hadn't really had the opportunity to pursue some of those flat events and really see what I could do. But on the other hand, it was like, you know what, I should be proud. Like I'm a steeplechaser. Like it's okay to go all in on something. And so, getting the opportunity that last summer was really fun. And I think it was neat to be able to challenge myself in something that maybe I wouldn't have had an opportunity otherwise. And so I really tried to embrace that opportunity last summer and also just sort of, I think I had tried to go for the 15 flat barrier earlier in the year at the Boston meet and came up just short. And a lot of it was just because I think I felt like the race had to play out a certain way and I could only run 72s and all this stuff. And I sort of went into that race finally with, you know what? I'm just going to be really aggressive. I'm just going to go for this. If I blow up, whatever happens, happens. And it was a really good like mental win as well, just to be like, you know what, like going for something can really pay off. Like it doesn't have to be this perfect thing all the time.
Yeah, I feel like it's a common theme with athletes I talk to. It's like there's times to play it safe a little bit, and then there's times to like take the risks because like if you don't take the risks, you'll never know what the ceiling is. I mean, maybe we'll never know what the ceiling is, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, I figured like, why not? Like, there's nothing like this meet doesn't really mean anything. It's just a fun summer meet. And like, I knew Elise really wanted to break 15 also. And so, when Shelby and Carissa set it up so perfectly, like it was amazing. And whenever they stepped off, I just went and I remember I ran a 66 next lap, like, and it was one of those things that at the time I was like, oh no, what have I done? And it was like, oh, whatever, let's go with it. Cause it was just, everyone's like, it was the most non-Courtney thing that I've ever done, just to like drop the hammer like that aggressively. But it was just so much fun, like and it was so fun for Elise and I to do it together. Like I felt us like both tackling this like this big barrier together, and yeah, it was, for as hard as the spring was, like we had a really fun summer, and I was really glad we were able to do that. I'm thankful.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch all the inter squad meets and things like that. It gave us all something to do, not just the runners. So how has your confidence changed as far as, you said that running that 9 flat, it kind of got in your head about your flat distance running. So now that you got that 1450, I mean, steeple's your passion and steeple's your main thing, but like, does that give you like desire to do more flat racing?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have goals like in the 5 and even the 15, I
Okay.
think. Just because like I've gotten a taste of what I think is possible, and I don't even think that that was my like close to my ceiling in those events. So, if the opportunities come about, and it's hard to know, like, you know, because on the international stage, and I love the steeple so much, that will always be my priority.
Hmm.
But I definitely still have goals in those other events too, because I think there's probably a lot of reasons I've run 9 flat and been able to do what I can in the steeple, um, in terms of just technique and abilities within the event. But at the end of the day, like it is still a running event, and
Hmm.
so being able to feel accomplished as an all-around runner, it does feel nice. So, and it does give me a lot of confidence that like, hey, like I feel like I could have contended for the 5K team too. Like,
That's so
I'm
cool.
here, I'm here because I've worked really hard to be a good runner, not just because I went the steeplechase route.
You definitely would have been a contender for the 5K team if that's what you were focusing on.
Yeah, it was fun to feel that way, and so and just heaven forbid there was ever a time I couldn't steeple, that I could still try to run
Uh
something.
huh.
You hope that is, you never want that to have to rely on that, but you never know. It's always a relief to have multiple standards.
So, what does the next few weeks look like for you?
So we are back up in Park City, and just kind of really getting dialed in now. I think I've really had to play the long game this year, which
Mm.
was definitely, my forte. Like I'm definitely kind of the one that kind of slowly builds up and things, but the winter started off a little rough. I had a hamstring injury that I was thankfully able to run through, but not really able to train fully through. So we had to make a lot of adjustments, and really for the first time, luckily, I guess, in my running career, we really had to kind of change what I was doing. I couldn't really do a lot with the team, and so I missed a lot of that, the strength, or sorry, I was focusing mostly on strength work. I missed a lot of the
Mm.
speed and kind of that hard running for a long time. And so really in the last 6 or 7 weeks is when I've really started to find my stride again. And like, I feel like I'm like in a really good spot. So just kind of building off that, I feel like with what I've seen in the last 6 weeks, it has me really excited to tackle these next, what do we have?
I
Just,
know.
just under 5 weeks.
Oh
And
my
so
goodness.
might be down to 4 now, which is kind of insane.
That's
So
so crazy.
I know it's happening really quickly, but it has me really excited because I mean, just even with the progression I saw from Portland Track Festival to the Olympic trials, I feel like I can make another one of those jumps. And, a lot of that's going to be tackling the speed work and the closing speed, because that's certainly my weakness as an athlete. And, but I'm not afraid to, set goals and tackle that anymore. I think for a long time I was like, oh, I'm not good at it, so I'm not gonna work on it. Like, I'm
Mm.
just gonna work on the things I'm good at. But, I saw like in the Olympic trials final, like I felt so strong, but kind of lacked that last gear shift for that finishing lap. So, it's fun to know what you need to work on, and yeah, we're gonna tackle those things.
So you have to be super mentally sharp to, be competing how at your level. But do you think that last lap that you were lacking that sharpness, is it more physical or more mental?
Probably some of both. I, as a whole, like just as an athlete, like the speed side of things is always going to take longer to develop for
Mm.
me. And especially since I missed a lot of that in the winter and early spring, it's still coming around. And so there's a lot of physical adaptations, but there's absolutely a mental component to it. I think, um, like as even I said earlier, it's hard sometimes to balance the getting on the team versus, like taking, kind of crazy risks. And, like I have so much respect for Emma as a competitor, and she's phenomenal. I mean, she has 9 national titles and she has multiple medals and just is an all around wonderful person. And I think sometimes when she makes that move on me, I sort of almost expect to fall off. And it's hard, like, because it's happened so many times to sort of, shift the mindset of like, this doesn't have to be it. And so
Ah,
continuing to even work on that in practice, and not just necessarily it being her, like now that we'll go to the games, like, if there's anybody that kind of goes around you in those final laps, like practicing, it isn't over, you can still, make those shifts and stuff like, so yeah, there's definitely a huge mental component to it as well.
but you have the American record. Does that help, like in your mental game?
Yeah, it does. It gives me a lot of confidence that I belong and that I can
Mm,
do those things. And, even look, I mean, gosh, it was 3 years ago now, which is
that's
kind of
wild.
crazy. It's been that long, and like I've grown so much as an athlete. Like I look back on those first 2 years and like I'm so proud of what I accomplished, but I also was kind of like at times just like blissfully naive about things. Like I was young, I was 24 and 25, which is really early in the professional kind of distance game. And, I think 2019 was definitely a hard year and a year of growth. And I put together some good performances, but I really, really lacked in the confidence area. And it showed. It showed in like how I raced and I really just really never put together anything close to what I was capable of that year. And that was hard. And it's taken a long time and a lot of work to kind of overcome that. And, I think that everything kind of came to head in late 2020 between just the games being delayed and then the hamstring injury. And so I've really worked hard to tackle that and, work on the mental side of things because, you can accept if you get beat because someone was better than you that day. But if you allowed yourself to like kind of be defeated by, like it being a confidence piece, that hurts. And I think
Mm.
that was a really hard thing with the 2019 World Championships was, I went with our race plan, but at the second half of the race, I didn't believe in myself and it showed in the last lap and I fell apart and, it was a hard pill to swallow knowing that I'd put all that work in to really not be my most confident self that day.
What have you done to get back in the right headspace? And who's been, part of your support system in that regard?
Yeah. Um, you know, honestly, I was pushed a lot by people like and encouraged by a lot of people in my circle to really finally tackle it. One of them was my husband. We were doing a workout over Christmas break and, I was struggling a lot with the hamstring while I was able to run. It was a new, like I said, I've been really fortunate to be really healthy in my running career and to feel like something was holding me back was really challenging, but he could sense how anxious I was in the middle of this workout. Mm. And we finished it and he kind of pulled me aside. He's like, you're never going to be able to do what you want to do if we don't start to try to figure this out. And that really it was, I guess, hard to hear, but also was like, I was so thankful he said that because he knows me so well. And, I think too, like he just finished his master's degree in positive coaching and he's learned so much about that side of coaching and just, of athletes. And so I was like, you know what, like he's right. And so, I was trying to, and I'd worked with a sports psychologist off and on through the USOC and he was really wonderful and helped me a ton. But things weren't getting any better at camp. And so I kind of sat down with Shalane and I told her what was going on and kind of just broke down and was like, I've got to do something about this because it's not sustainable anymore. And so I found a really wonderful therapist I'm working with and like just really tackled it, weekly, like diving in and figuring out how I can be confident in my running again and what I'm doing, and not comparing myself to others, and just I was so good at trusting in what I was doing those first couple of years that there was no doubts whenever I got onto the line that I was ready, and I wasn't doing that anymore. And so yeah, it's been one of the most amazing changes I could have made, and I'm so thankful that I've had people in my circle that have, really encouraged me to tackle those things just head on. And yeah, I think the person I was in the Olympic trials was just a totally new Courtney, just so much more confident and just excited and enjoying it again. I think that was one of the biggest parts too, is like, Griffin was like, you've just almost seemed miserable for the last 2 years. And I think it was just because everything, it felt like there was so much pressure all the time that I just couldn't even find the joy in it anymore. And that's not any fun. At the end of the day, why do we do this? And it's because we love it, and then that's been, I think, the most amazing thing is he had come up here for a couple of days to Park City, and he was like, you just seem so much more free when you're running. And he's like, you seem happier and things. And it's true. My runs are, one of the best parts of my day again. And workouts, I find so much more joy pushing myself and being okay if it isn't perfect or it isn't, right on the splits. And, and there's still times I'm such a perfectionist innately. And so it's hard to overcome that sometimes, but, yeah, it's been a huge positive change. So,
is this a therapist specific to sports, or is it just a regular therapist that tackles more whole picture stuff?
She is specific to running.
Okay.
But does the whole picture thing too. So it's been really great. It's all of life, but also she's a runner herself. So totally understands everything to do with running. So.
How has training changed for you guys now that you have Shalane on as well? I haven't interviewed you since she became a coach.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's been a really, really awesome thing. I was one of the fortunate ones to have Shalane as a teammate as well, and really be able to learn under her when she was an athlete. But she's been such an asset, especially for our women's team, just to have a female on staff and someone you can go to and just have really open, honest conversations with. And, she's worked with Jerry for so long as well that, she's able then to relay some of those messages or even just advocate for us. There's times whenever she'll speak up and be like, hey, I think they're feeling like this, maybe we adjust these things. Cause she's very recently been in our shoes. So, and, even, with a lot of the, for myself, a lot of the expectations or pressure situations, I really lean on her advice because, gosh, she did so much in her career and it started at a very young age. And so I think she ran under that pressure for a long time. But yeah, she's been wonderful. I think, I can't imagine us not having her now. So I'm so thankful for it. And, for a lot of different, reasons too. I think she's helped a lot of those that are, maybe transitioning back from injury, things like that, hey, let's do this week, a little more guidance with some of those areas.
So let's shift a little bit back into the finals of the race. And I just kind of want to know the finish line feelings. We all saw the picture of you and Emma, and then we have Val Constant on the team now. I maybe said her last name wrong, but tell us about those moments.
Those moments are just almost they're just amazing. It's just, this time around there was this mixture of joy and relief, sort of, okay, we did it, but also just so much pride, even having made an Olympic team before, to do it, you still feel those same feelings of just pure joy and excitement to do it again. And, I think Emma and I immediately, looking up at how fast we ran and how we felt and things like that, we both looked like, she looked at me, she goes, "Can you believe we ran that fast?" And I was like, "We did run pretty fast." And I was like, I mean, I felt like we were, moving, and she was just like, she was like, and like we both immediately was like, we're gonna do something special at these games. Like you just feel it. Like, and I love like the energy we have between the two of us. Like, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's the highest level of respect, but also just like we know that we're both where we're at because of one another. Like, even though we don't train together, we've pushed each other so much. And I know I still don't like think London would have happened without both of us being there. Like just there was a greater energy and stuff like that. And so, and then to turn around and see Val right there and run 9:18, like it just, I mean, it shows you what she's got in her to show up at the Olympic trials and run that amazingly well. Like that's going to set her up so well for the games. And so, it was just so much, it was just so much fun. Like to feel so excited about what's to come as well. Like just because of how well we ran that day. And it was really neat to share that lap with Val because, I felt so much of how making my first team was in watching her, it kind of takes a bit for it to hit whenever you like, and that's how it was for me. Like you make that first Olympic team and we were, pretty far into the victory lap and it just hit her and she started crying and you knew
during the race.
No, the victory lap.
Oh, like, the victory lap.
Okay. Yeah. You're like, oh my gosh, no.
Like, how did she do that?
Yeah. And so it was just really special to be able to share that with her because, we've been there before and, it's one of those things. Yeah. Sometimes it's delayed in terms of like it hitting you, like what just happened. So that was really cool. But yeah, I think the immediate focus on how excited we were about where we're going in terms of, I think, what could happen at Tokyo, I think was probably the most exciting part. But I don't know. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see anybody make an Olympic team, but just what you're explaining with Val, like there is something special about seeing someone do it for the very first time.
Yeah. And, like it resonates.
Yeah.
And so
you've been there.
And yeah. But
did you like realize what happened with Leah?
I did. There was there's a large board.
Okay.
Like there on the turn. And so like we saw it happen. And it's one of like, I mean, my heart stopped in the middle of the race. Like, Leah's one, like I have raced Leah for years and I've known her for a long time. And, she had so much struggle for so many years. And just the fact that she got back onto the starting line at the Olympic trials, just so happy and confident, I think was such a win in itself. Like I was just, I mean, thrilled to see her back there and running so well. Just because like I know the potential she has and just how talented she is. And she ran 9:18 her first year out. And, she was a part of our crew, Colleen, Leah, and I from back in 2015 that was constantly pushing one another. And so my heart did break for her just because, I have known her over the years and, you want to see that come together for someone who's worked so hard to just be back. But, I was able to talk with her for a little bit after the race and I just told her, I was like, Leah, I can't tell you how happy I am that just to see you back here. And I feel so confident that this is just the start.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing you happy shows like the most important part of it. Like you have like figuring out all the other pieces helps the running come together. And I really think it's just the start. So I'm really excited. I think she's running the Stockholm Diamond League. And so it'll be really fun to see like getting into some of these bigger races, like what she's going to be capable of.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing, like trials. We were talking about how I was asking you if you felt that pressure, like that everybody kind of says you and Emma were a shoo-in. And we've been watching the trials with our kids, over the last few weeks, which has been really fun. And it was the 800, and we were talking about Donovan Brazier, and my husband
Mhm.
was just like, "Oh yeah, it'll be him, and then the Clayton Murphy, and then whoever grabs that third spot." And my son's like, "You don't know that. You can't predict that. You just assume certain people
Mhm.
are going to make teams, but it's like anything can happen."
Can. Yeah. And that's like especially what just makes the trial so special is like even over US champs is like there's just there's just something more to it, like I don't know, it's hard to describe, but um yeah, really anything can happen. And I mean, even I look back on my race in 2016 at the trials, and honestly, when I fell off, I thought it was over because I'd fallen off by so much. But then there's just something magical about the trials sometimes. And if you just, kind of take it in, like you can switch it around and really just put together something super special that day.
Mm.
And it's fun to see that from athletes. And I think we saw that with Val. Like, I think she saw an opportunity and she just poured it out there, and just left it all out there. And it was really cool to see.
I love it. Okay. Do you do you have anything you want to say about Shelby, and just like Bowerman has been through a lot in this past few months, and I'm sure that you guys have felt a lot of like, I don't know, pressure and judgment. I don't know what the words are for it, but just like, where's your heart with that, and what does it feel like going to the Olympics without Shelby? Like, what's the team feel like?
Hmm. Um, it definitely feels like we have a hole in our heart, like she is such a big part of this team. Just who she is as a person, what she brings to practice, just her bubbly, like fearless, just excited self. Just on the one hand, we're just absolutely missing that. But also just to feel like it just is unfair. I mean, I've watched her handle herself through the entire situation. I was one of the ones that knew from day, like as soon as she got the news. And I mean, on the one hand, it just speaks to her character, just the teammate and the friend and who she was while dealing with all of this and just what she was. I mean, gosh, I personally probably would have shut down, and she showed up every day with a good attitude and pushed herself, pushed her teammates. And it just speaks to who she is as a person. And, but yeah, I'd be lying if I said, we were all just okay. Like it's been really hard. It's really hard to see someone go through this, especially whenever we know she didn't do it. And that's, I know her so well. I mean, I've been friends with her since college. We met 7 years ago, and I've been teammates with her for 5 years. I've lived with her for a significant portion of those times, here at camp. And, I know who she is as a person, and it just breaks my heart to know she may never have the opportunities now to pursue what she's capable of. And we're going to do the best we can to show up for her. And I think that we are running, with that in the back of our heads. Like, we're going to try to have a strength for Shelby kind of mindset, and, I know the last thing she would want is for us to, deter our own journeys because of this. And so, she wants us to do the selfish thing and focus on ourselves, but it doesn't mean it's easy. And so, yeah, it's been hard. It's been really hard. It's opened my eyes a lot to just a lot of things within our world. I had heard all of these prior cases, and I always, believed those athletes, but you don't think it's going to happen to someone, like on a really personal level. And, I always thought I had done a pretty good job in terms of, buying nicer meats or things like that. but I at this point don't even feel safe really buying most meat at restaurants anymore because I mean, there's a reality that these types of situations can happen to anybody. Like that New York Times article that Lindsay Krause did said there were 28 cases of contamination, whether it be from meat or prescription medications or even water in the last since 2016. And I mean, that seems like a lot. Um, and so I think too, we're all just trying to be aware. I mean, it's terrifying to watch her go through this and just feels unfair. And so, but yeah, just trying to shift the focus to running strong for her and being there for her too. I mean, I'm going to stand by her through all of this because I know who she is as a person. I absolutely just have all the trust in the world in what she stands for and her beliefs, and that I know she didn't do this. I know she wouldn't take a performance enhancing drug. So
yeah, like you mentioned, it makes you nervous to eat any meat that you buy. Are you like, I'm eating at home? Like I'm cooking all of my meals myself and through the Olympics?
for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's been pretty terrifying to say the least. I think if I eat out, it's usually like vegetarian or fish anymore because those seem to be the safe options. Thankfully, like at the trials, my parents had an Airbnb, so I actually cooked my meals there. But I mean, sometimes it's out of your control. I mean, whether you're able to make your meals or things
Yeah.
like that. You go to some of these big races and you're just stuck eating whatever they provide you. And so it's definitely eye-opening. And so I think it does have me concerned a bit in terms of if that's not, you know, I don't have that control over that because, maybe I'm being really paranoid, but watching somebody go through this, like I don't think you can be too safe.
Well, I thank you for talking about it. And, when we asked you to come on the show, I didn't want you to think that's why we asked you to come on. We were talking about having you on before. Actually, we were maybe going to do this before the trials even.
Yeah, yeah. I was finishing up. I actually started going back to school this last year, and so I was finishing up school when you guys had reached out. So it worked out better this timing. But yeah, no, I'm happy to speak on it just because I do feel passionately about it now because I care so much about her. So
That's good. Yeah, I think that the conversation would have been good before or after the trial, so I'm perfectly happy with this. What are you going back to school for?
so I started a master's degree in nutrition
Oh, cool.
in the fall. So during COVID, I had been working on my master's while I was at UNM and had tried to finish it, but it just didn't work out just because it was an in-seat program. And I don't plan on being done running anytime soon, but I don't think it's ever a bad idea to start thinking about what's next. And so with COVID, just kind of really like making me realize like, what if this Olympic Games is gone and then all of a sudden like I may only have one Olympic cycle. Like this thing started, spinning like what do I want to do next? And so started looking around and I'd always wanted to go back to school and found a program that worked really well with kind of my schedule and it's online and it's been really great. Like I've loved having goals and something outside of running and learning and pursuing more. And I think it'll set me up well for then hopefully something beyond running as well.
Yeah, I mean, your undergrad's in chemistry, so I'm assuming that nutrition. I majored in dietetics in college, and the chemistry and science part of it was the reason it was so hard for me. So I'm assuming with a chemistry background, it might be a little more smooth sailing.
Yeah, it's actually been really great. I was nervous because I didn't do dietetics, that I didn't know how I'd transition in, but it's been pretty like biochem and like human biology based, which
Uh-huh.
is very much what I was doing undergrad. So I've actually loved it. Like I've loved all the human biochem and I've had some really great professors. And I think it's really actually really helped me figure out what my goals beyond running are. So I actually think I still want to try to go the medicine route when I'm done running, whether
Wow.
it's Whether it's med school or potentially PA. My sister's in PA school right now, and she's loving it. And so I'm really curious to see, once she's working in the field, like how that is for her. But I would just, and I think the nutrition master's is really going to help me to, hopefully get into the area I want to. I would love to be sort of maybe in like an endocrinology type setting or, you know, even just stuff with like research in female athletes. I'm always been drawn toward that. So, yeah, it's been exciting. Like I like had a really exciting conversation with Griffin, my husband, that I was like, don't think this is me like losing focus on my running, but I just feel really excited that I think I know what I want to do after running. Like, and I have goals and things like that. And he's like, no, this is great. Like, I think there's so many times that, you finish a professional sport and you kind of look around and you're like, I don't know what I want to do. And so I'm excited that I've taken the time to kind of think about it and pursue some things and yeah, have those goals too.
Yeah, that has to feel really good. I do feel like when there's another focus in line, it seems to be really helpful. When it's just not only one thing that you're laser focused on. So when you got your chemistry undergrad, your intentions were to apply for med school. Like if pro running wasn't working out, you must be really smart.
Oh, oh, and I don't know. I wanted to be a doctor from a really young age. And so, it was actually really hard to kind of give up on that at first. And even my mom was just like, when I told her that I was kind of changing my academic plans to just in doing 5 years versus like, doing 3 or 4 and trying to go to med school, she was like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Like, you've always wanted this academic route. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, I have always wanted to be an athlete also.
Yeah.
And so it just seemed right. And so, yeah, I have zero regrets about, changing and putting, a good emphasis on running as well. But, I'm realizing too, and thankfully I had a really, really wonderful academic advisor in college that was like, and just even my agent now who has seen, had known people that have gone to med school later in life or even seen runners finish their careers and go on to med school have always been advocates that, like you can go back. Like it's okay if it's not the traditional timeline, like you should do this. And so I'm really thankful that I had people kind of, making it okay, being like, no, do this. Like you don't have to follow, a certain plan just because it seemed like that was the right thing to do at the time.
Who's your agent?
Tom Ratcliffe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you see that the woman who won Western States is a pediatrician?
No.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That's amazing. Yes. Oh my gosh.
But it just shows like whatever the trajectory is, it doesn't matter what order you do it in, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So,
that's amazing. Gosh, how does she have time to
I don't know.
100-miler and
the only thing I could think is I don't think she probably doesn't have kids. I can't imagine doing all three of those things. I'm sure somebody out there is doing it though.
Yeah, I have zero doubts that there's someone else. Wow.
Okay. Well, Courtney, congratulations and thank you so much for giving us your time, just after making the Olympic team.
Thank you so much. This has been fun.
We will talk to you soon and we'll be cheering for you in Tokyo.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Courtney.
Bye.